Hello everyone, Justin Vacula here. You're listening to the Stoic Philosophy Podcast, practical wisdom for everyday life. Today's episode is titled Thinking About the Distant Future. Visit my website at justinvacula.com, where you can find links to my social media portals and see past content on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, or Stitcher. Support my work by becoming a donor through Patreon or PayPal. Share, comment, like, subscribe, and leave a review. I really appreciate your support and feedback, which helps me grow my audience and keeps this project going. We might wonder what we would like our lives to look like in the distant future. Perhaps you have heard questions like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, or even a longer time frame? Personally, I'm not a fan of this question, because I tend to focus more on the present, the near future, and recognize that happenstance is a big part of my life. I like to keep my options open and remain open-minded, recognizing new opportunities I have not considered have drastically changed my life in the past. I adopt an attitude of humility. I do not have everything figured out, and do not want to say that I have the one and only path which my life will be fulfilled with. Instead, I draw upon the tradition of Stoicism for guiding virtues and principles like acceptance, courage, prudence, frugality, and many others I've discussed in previous episodes. I've made some mistakes along the way, perhaps have been naive, squandered my time, focused on the wrong things, but from that I grow and recognize it will likely be the case that more learning and a sort of failure will happen again. I'll improve my life. I'll learn new lessons. I'm quite open to experience. I like to seize new opportunities and adapt to the present when change occurs. I find a new path I wish to pursue and come across new information, like Stoic philosophy, which can benefit my life. In the next 5 years, well, I don't know what my current situation will be, where I'll be living, what will be my focus for income, which significant people will exist in my life, and this I do not worry about, for this is far away, and my current position in life, I think, is one that is mostly of contentment and satisfaction. Maybe a current focus in my life or years may seem to be good at the moment, but will turn out to be unfulfilling in the future. After all, people change, situations change, and we discover new information. We explore new paths, and that's all well and good, not something to be anxious about, but rather something, I think, to be excited about, that our lives aren't figured out, that life isn't dull, and that there is hope for improvement and new opportunity. Stoic writers highlight the elements of chance, change, fortune in life, and note that we might find ourselves playing various roles, happening about new circumstances, and that we ought to take action, rising to the occasion, accepting new challenges, and wrestling with adversity to build our character, test ourselves, and pursue virtue for a good end. Perhaps new people enter and leave our lives, which make big impressions upon us. They introduce us to new ideas, hobbies, and experiences, and we reconsider our priorities. Maybe new income opportunities are presented, and we change our roles with the aim of bettering ourselves and the world around us. Let's accept these elements of change and adapt accordingly. A good deal of the happenstance in our lives, possible changes in the future, and the future itself, we should recognize is outside of our control. It's a regular theme in the Stoic text that we should distinguish what is outside of our control and inside of our control, focus on what we can control, rather than creating suffering for ourselves, lamenting what we can't change, trying to change what we can't, and being miserable when things don't go our way, especially if we make our best efforts. Stoic philosophers call on us to be process-oriented rather than results-oriented, to not fret about outcomes, but rather to make a good effort in attaining what we want in life, scorning unhealthy desires and having right priorities. Perhaps we can worry about the near future. We can plan ahead, we can create a schedule, a routine for ourselves, and try to structure our lives. We can be flexible, though. An excessive worry about the future, trying to control that which we cannot, will be most unproductive. We can adopt moderation, not being totally unconcerned about the future, or totally concerned about the future, but instead focus mostly on the present and the short term. We can set short-term goals, think about how we would like life to be, cultivate a strong character, and adapt to future happenings when they come, when they become the present. We too can have some commitments, but keep them conditional, and rightly so, when we have new experiences. We should change our perspectives when warranted. Maybe our significant other we made a long-term commitment to happens to dramatically change for the worst, and despite our efforts to help, they continue to bring us down. We can walk away rather than dwelling in misery. Maybe we decide that romantic relationships just aren't for us, and we reject the cultural push for dating, marriage, and partnership, instead just having good friends and not being bogged down by the significant negatives that relationships might bring. Maybe we decide that our current geographical area is not conducive to our happiness and leave a state or a country. Maybe we pick a new job or career path when our current situation goes downhill. Maybe we change our spending and eating habits for good reasons. It is a mark of courage and mindfulness to recognize that our current commitments and habits might not be the best for us. We can make changes when we have really good reasons to do so. Perhaps we worry about the future. What might happen if we make significant changes? Might life get really chaotic? What will change look like? What might happen, though, if we don't make changes and we continue in our current state of not being satisfied? Pick your poison, an unhappy present or a more uncertain future, for consequences happen with choices we make or do not make. Many will remain in the unhappy present, fearing change and uncertainty, even in wretched conditions. But shall we languish in an unhappy state for the rest of our lives and let life pass us by, especially given how short our lives may be? Should we not make the most of our days and work to be more content, removing threats to our happiness? It can help to discuss concerns with trusted persons in our life and not just complain, but create a plan of action, identify our priorities and values, and find out what is meaningful for us. We can work to create more fulfilled lives. It's a quote from Epictetus here. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? This is especially relevant now in 2018, this new year, in which we will make many resolutions to improve our lives. Maybe a drastic change won't be easy, sure, but we can take some minor steps, recognizing that we can work to even slightly improve our current life situation and extinguish some of the worries we might have about the future by implementing gradual changes, taking baby steps. Getting our lives in order should help us reduce our worries about the future, especially if we have more control in our lives. Take personal responsibility for what is happening. Being accountable, having structure and order, philosophical reflection, application of virtues, recognizing our strengths rather than dwelling on negatives and having self-defeating thinking can help us reduce worries about the future. Perhaps we haven't reflected too much on what we might want in life. Maybe others have made decisions for us, or we haven't given much thought to our priorities or paths in life. We can work to evaluate our commitments and strive for how we want life to be. Maybe our parents have wanted us to live in a certain way, and we might have followed paths others have set for us. Maybe our social connections are flimsy, built on shaky foundations, or are unfulfilling, consisting of blood relations, invested time, shared space, but the people might not be good matches for us. We can work to make changes in the present for a better future and reduce our worries, have more control, and have a better life. Let's look to some Stoic texts concerning worry about the future. Seneca, in his Moral Letters to Lucilius, reflects on self-imposed suffering due to concern about the future in his letter titled On Groundless Fears. He writes, "We are tormented either by things present, or by things to come, or by both. As to things present, the decision is easy. As to what may happen to it in the future, we shall see later on. Today, there is nothing wrong with it." Seneca encourages a present-oriented mindset, reminding us that only the present is with us, that we will see what develops in the future. We can work to mitigate our concerns about the future, I think, by improving our present conditions and keeping our minds oriented on what we can control. Again, we may find benefit in planning and thinking about the short-term future, but not to an excessive extent, which can lead to unproductive and harmful worry. In his letter titled On the Philosopher's Mean, Seneca writes about a mind that is fretted by looking forward to the future. But the chief cause of these ills is that we do not adapt ourselves to the present, but send our thoughts a long way ahead, and so foresight, the noblest blessing of the human race, becomes perverted. Here, we see again that having concerns about the far future can harm us. Instead, we can have a foresight with a shorter range and focus more on the present. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more content. Visit my website at justinvacula.com, where you can find links to my social media portals and see past content on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, or Stitcher. Support my work by becoming a donor through Patreon or PayPal. Share, comment, like, subscribe, and leave a review. I really appreciate your support and feedback, which helps me grow my audience and keeps this project going. Have a great day.